Punk rock means that you have no professional talent, but you find something that sounds kind of cool.
Story of my life.
Too many days I wandered underneath the valley lights, wondering if I had enough. Put that hand upon my hand, judge me, but I'm not yet dead. I don't know what I wanted to. All I needed was a clue. Drive me back into this stew of life I'm boiling on my own. I can't describe you. I won't try and survive this lie. We told ourselves. And that's just an improv for nothing, because that one's free. The rest of them all cost something, okay?
Welcome to episode 21.
Too bad you didn't murder Gavin from Bush and take his job.
Yeah.
That would have been my second choice.
That was beautiful.
And you should do a cover of Glycerine.
I've done cover glass.
I know, yeah. I don't want to hear it.
Actually, I do a really good. My band used to do a really good cover of Weezer's "Say It Ain't So."
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
I saw them live. Yeah,
See,
that was
I-
good.
I'm not never been a professional musician. Actually, I've never been a professional anything. I think that's kind of the most fantastic part about the life story of this character that is me. I'm literally the modern equivalent of a Renaissance man, if that meant anything today.
So you mean professional, like commercial, like
Nothing.
high
Like
profile?
I have skills, but I'm a master of none of them. I have done a little bit of almost everything and have played the game on various different levels without even having the qualifications to do so. So, for example, like I met you guys in theater,
Right.
which I had never done before.
Right.
And you guys are like, honestly, I learned so much from these cats. You have no idea.
You might call
The
it
mad
that.
respect. Like, you have no
That's
idea.
And you fucking crushed it.
Wow.
You're a natural.
You didn't miss
You're
a
a great
step.
study.
Regardless, but it was one of those things I enormously appreciated having talented individuals around, because it made the whole thing a lot easier to comprehend.
Yeah, all we had to do is be like, hey, Bob, when you do it like this, just take a step to your left and open up. And he's like, oh.
So they can see me. Makes
That's
sense.
basically
Yeah.
all we told them.
Yeah, my director's notes were, okay, we're over here. Don't get too into the
Bob,
scene.
this way.
And I'm
This way,
like,
Bob.
oh, but I was like wrestling someone. All right, look at people while you're wrestling someone. And that's easy.
Basic form of wrestling.
Yeah, it was genius. No, I
To
loved it.
talented individuals,
Yeah.
everyone, and that goes to everyone in this room.
We
here.
Oh, yeah,
studio
once again.
audience.
Oh, once
Shout
again.
out.
Since
Yeah.
we're here tonight in the studio,
Where are
as
we?
you can
We're at
tell,
a
Where is-
different place.
Maybe if you're watching, you're like, what is this? What does it look different? Does it look different? I don't know. Maybe
We're
it
at a
does.
new location. Our old home, 1830,
You might
underwent
remember.
renovations, and just isn't going to work out for us to do the show
well,
there.
it's old and new because some of you
Yeah.
might have, some of you
You've
might have
seen
seen,
the
the
episode.
OGs. Yeah.
Yeah.
some of you might have seen like our pilot episodes, like in the middle of our emptiness of our dark souls
It
of
was,
our careers.
it was actually February, so it was very dark.
Yeah, it was.
very
And
It
if
was
you-
really rainy too.
If you
It
haven't,
was the snow. It was that snow ice
Yeah, it was
storm.
an insane blizzard that most people didn't go
And
for.
we went
Right.
ahead and did the episode anyway.
that was the first
I
episode.
remember my
Yeah.
cabbie thought I was crazy. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going to a taping. He's like, of what? I'm like, a podcast. He's like, how much does that pay? And I'm like, not lots. He's like, how much is not lots? And I'm like, nothing. He's like, why are you on the road? It's like suicide out here.
It
I'm
was.
podcasting, man.
I'm podcasting.
It
This
was.
is the future. What are you talking about? Look at his face. This.
And we had a studio audience. People came.
It was amazing. Yeah, we got like 9 people here or something.
There was a handful.
We had like
handful.
we had like a regional party,
House party vibe.
which was amazing.
If you haven't seen episode 1 and 2, go back and watch them. I'm telling you, you need to listen to
Especially
them.
now that you're watching this episode, so that you get the full context. You got to go back and get the
a little bit
whole
of a full
story. Because we're going to talk about things that happened in those episodes. You want to know.
Things have changed.
What's going on.
We were recently submitted for a giant podcast. What's it called? The podcast festival.
Yeah, the hot
I
dogs
always say
festival.
hot dogs, but it's
the hot dogs festival.
He's just a hungry dog. That's what he is.
Fingers crossed. We submitted the
has now started to
podcast.
include independent podcast as another category for their documentary awards and such. And again, I can't speak for the industry or organization associated with that, but I can tell you this: we qualify.
They wanted homegrown Toronto podcasts that
Non-fiction
with a focus on compelling non-fiction storytelling. Hey,
that's our tagline.
Who the fuck are you listening to? There's literally no other story that is more compelling than this. Fuck you. You're done. Where's the sign?
Hi, hot dogs. This is my addition to you. This is nothing more than the truth, as I see it or pretend to have seen it. So remember, this is non-fiction storytelling at its finest, and it's Toronto-oriented, and you're a Toronto organization.
Homegrown.
We're a shoe-in.
Done.
Come on now.
So you want it.
So now that I've done that, now that
No,
the gratuitous grab for grant money and government sponsorship, which we're never going to get because I'm just not.
Trevor's got a call.
Sorry.
Who is it?
It's all right.
Is it Justin
Who
Trudeau?
is
Is
it?
he giving us our funding?
It's
It's a
someone
notification from
Cifer
Cifer Pics.
Pics.
Karim tagging us right now. Way to be on the game here. It's almost like we planned that.
Yeah. Shout out to
That's
Cifer
great.
Pics in the audience today. As
Right.
always, are part of our production too.
Huge shout out to Jabril the Thrill. We often refer to him as the sidekick, but he hates
Batman
that.
and Robin, they
He's
love
a
it.
little-
What are you
he's a
talking
little-
about? They love it. We had this conversation 10 minutes ago. They love it, and even if they don't, I do. It's fantastic.
You went home. We would like your votes. We would like you to weigh in. Do you think it's a sidekick situation? Do you like the Batman and Robin? Do you like Jabril the Thrill sidekick? Yes or no? Vote. Let us know. The audience will speak for us.
I thought you were asking.
Oh, no.
Jabril.
Why are we asking him?
Of
That'd be
course he
ridiculous.
doesn't like
Of course
it.
he doesn't
I'm
like it.
talking
He's
to the
Robin.
people at
I
home.
thought you meant Jabril's right there. So like he's like, no, I don't like it.
Look,
Check that. That might have been the
book-
grinder with
comic-
the medicinal.
Comic book fans the world over will tell you how amazing
the
Robin
lead on?
is, and how without Robin, Batman would just be a cheesy iconoclastic character with no backstory. So don't worry, you guys.
Jabril,
Yes.
you're not feeling well tonight, but you're here. That's how amazing you are.
That's
So
the power.
he's under the weather.
Of
He
the sun.
probably doesn't
I mean-
feel like being here right now.
It's all right. He's feeling it from being out on Saturday night for our big film preview where
Oh yeah,
we had a big
tell me all about it. I wasn't there.
We,
in Roncesvalles at the Review Theater. We were previewing our movie that
we headlined the Sudden Impulse
Film Festival. which is a film festival here in Toronto, 8th annual red carpet event.
And the name
Plug.
And the name of our film was The Film Festival.
Parody on film festivals.
I arrived late and walked in, and they were like, "Excuse me, like you need tickets, kind of thing." And I was like, "Oh, I'm here for the film festival. I'm in one of the films." And she was like, "What's the name of it?" The Film Festival. And she was like, "Yes, I'm in the film festival."
In the film festival.
So yeah, check it out. Ticket Poo Productions. That's
Ticket
real.
Poo
We're not
Productions
just making.
Film
That's not a
Festival.
bit. If you're like, is that a bit they just worked out? Where they call it's not a bit. It's a real thing. But it's already won tons of awards.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
It's a bit of a
He's a star.
good time. Produced and starred Lars, makes a featured appearance, and lots of other Toronto actors that you may know from our acting community.
Yeah,
So,
tons of people. We
good
should
May.
shout- We should
So
shout
May.
some of them out.
Jabril,
Cam
I mean, I
Sedgwick,
don't. But you may.
Cam Sedgwick,
Rachel
and
Sellen, Marina Pratt,
Oh, I have to say
Jenny
everybody.
Fisher,
everyone now.
Malcolm Taylor.
He gets a double shout out because he's great.
Jake Zaboose.
Jake Saboose.
Zaboosk in the
My
house.
boy Steve Casson, who I've been on some other movies
Ed.
with.
We had Ed
Well,
Kennington
well,
in
his
there.
name's
Of course,
Eddie
Brian.
Jim Tubor. Yeah, so shout out to a bunch
Yeah,
of
shout
people
out
that
to
aren't
everybody.
here and have no a direct impact with what we're
But
doing.
you are here.
Speaking of
Rich.
people that are here, Rich with the assist right here. You may see a beer flying into frame.
Be Rich, the storied, hallowed beloved Rich.
Yeah,
is
my
in the
childhood
house.
You know,
best
if
friend.
you
He's my hetero life mate.
if
Like,
you
if there's
weren't-
a silent Bob
Yeah.
or a not so silent Bob and kind of a socially awkward dick, that would be me and Rich.
Like, if we weren't doing a story on Bob, we'd be probably doing a story on Rich.
Well,
That's
he's a
how it
spin-off story, obviously.
is. Yeah, he's gonna be the
Uh-oh. You see this sidekick thing we've set up here?
They both write sci-fi too, and we before the show we overheard them like having a conversation about like quirks and quarks and cyborgs and black holes and shit.
next. So, like, you guys generate your own universes, like with rules and
Well, no, that's kind of psychotic. But when I'm playing tabletop role-playing games, yes, of course I do. But that's different.
like, do you do spin-offs of current sci-fi?
Well, there's no such
universes?
thing as current sci-fi universes. I mean, okay, no, I don't
Fan
write.
fiction
No,
is
I
what
don't
he's
write
asking.
fan fiction. No, I don't. I don't write fan fiction because I'm not a fan.
So then, do you generate your own, like, given circumstances within?
Yes,
your...
absolutely. I mean, that's fiction, though, right? That's the whole point.
And it's sci-fi.
Oh, so you like make it up? You like,
Trev,
But, like, some people- but some
if
people-
you and Margaret Atwood and I had a little sit down, you'd be like, so Margaret, when
So
you're
it's
writing
like-
about a world where all women are infertile except for the rape class, I mean, the servant class, never mind. And you ask the same questions, I'd have to answer the same way. Writing a world and living in one is almost the same thing. You just imagine the differences between this world and that world. And it's not about necessarily being fiction, non-fiction, or fantasy, or illusion or delusion. It's how far away from what's understandable are you willing to write? And more importantly, do you think your audience can grasp it? So I see a lot of...
that went
no,
right over my head.
So
I mean-
he can no grasp.
For example,
It lost it.
right? Some people enjoy easily disseminated information. They want their media, in little snippets and bits they can all digest,
Top 10 list, preferably.
right?
Yeah.
Other people want Game of Thrones all day long, watch for 1,000 hours and at the same general consensus at the end. You felt your story, but one's an epic scope, and one is a quick digestible bit.
Right.
So I try and write somewhere in between, because I don't think that it needs to be epic to tell a story, but I also don't think that it's unnecessary for things to be bland and boring.
You know what it is? I think we just invented a new thing that might describe our mini clips. Epic digestible bits.
Epic digestible bits.
Right?
I'll say it again with a good camera face. Now that is an epic digestible bit. That's just for editing purposes.
That's the name of our big bug cookies.
So
Epic
today
digestible bits.
I wanted
Like
to talk.
this big.
Today I wanted to talk about the women of 39 Drunk Disorderlies, but I'm not even sure if we're going to get there because we're into the politics of 39 Drunk Disorderlies with writing
we?
and culture.
No, we can move on into the.
But I'm
women.
fine with whatever. I mean, this is a free-form show.
Let's talk about the women.
Okay, so
He's on his phone.
I did something. I don't know what happened.
He's Instagramming. It's
it
fine.
went- his phone went Chinese.
Speaking of
I can't
Instagram,
go back.
hit us up at 39DD Show.
Oh.
Hit us up on Facebook at
I'm
39DD Show.
socially inept.
Wake up. Come on.
I'm here. I just don't know how to do things.
Me too.
Follow at Trey the Actor. You can hit me up
Don't.
at Lars Classington. Hit up at Laughing Vikings.
Shout out to our last
And if
audience
you're
member.
looking
We got
for me,
one more audience member
online,
in.
you'll find almost nothing.
And if you're watching this right now and sometimes you don't have the ability to watch and you want to listen, just listen to the podcast version of this. There. We took care of that. Nice.
Shout out to our last and favorable audience member.
Yeah, we haven't gotten that Luna. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Don Sadler.
Dawn Luna.
Actor
And,
extraordinaire. I met Don Sadler when I shot her
You've
husband.
now become one of the women of 39 Drunk Disorderlies, right? By this episode.
That's
'Cause
a
what
pretty
it's
cool
called,
thing to
right?
do.
So.
I met Don by shooting her husband 11 times at point blank, and
Nice.
now we're friends.
It's beautiful.
Did he swallow?
He almost died. He had many surgeries, and somehow now he's still alive, but he's on disability. I played a killer in an episode of a show called Fear Thy Neighbor, and Dawn was the wife of one of my neighbors who I shot repeatedly.
Horrible.
So sorry. A terrible situation because it's actually based on a true story. But
Wow.
as an actor, it was great.
You know, since we're not getting dark, it's good.
Right.
What cameras are functional here?
For all the folks at home, we're just going through some technical difficulties while we readjust to the
Listen,
new
Batman
location.
and Robin,
So you
what's happening?
At this point, you can only see Trevor and I. We haven't cut away to Bob because the Bob cam's down. The Bob cam's down.
Yeah, the show lost 30%.
Oh, the wide ones.
Apparently, I have a bob cam.
We see him in the wide. Yeah, we
I'm
always
still
get the
here.
wide for safety.
I thought I'd vanished, which is awesome because I've done it before.
And the close-up Bob cam is back. He's back right here. There
That
it
little
is.
microphone laser thing on top of that's pretty intimidating, by the way. Like it's like zoned in on my face. I feel like you're gonna burn holes in my frontal cortex. Is that a gamma ray device? Like, all right. So look,
Buckle up.
we have discussed a lot of the facets of being a drunken, marauding, you know, nightlife enjoying sociopath, right? So I played that game for a long time. You know, being intrinsically nihilistic.
Sorry, guys.
Whoa!
Oh, we got another foul play.
I was
Another-
Instagramming. This is the game these days. We're sharing shit.
So hot dogs. If you didn't doubt that we were indie at all, those doubts should be laid to rest by my co-hosts here, who can't keep off their fucking phones like the millennials they are, long enough to get through half a fucking episode.
Buddy, this is distribution right here. Nobody's hearing or seeing anything if we don't do this.
Can I get a confetti cannon, please?
We're not just
Like,
talent.
if I could set one off at the table right here, I totally would.
All right, let's get back to it.
Talking about killing a thread of thought in one fell swoop. Okay, so is there any more alerts that are going to go off?
Probably.
Should I check my phone now? Like,
Yeah,
what
might as well.
All right, so
Quick phone break. That'd be a good thing for a podcast.
one of the things that I didn't talk about, I think I haven't talked about really at all, except sort of colloquially mentioning that there were people like my ex-wife Ashley and so on and so forth. And I say wife again colloquially because she was common law, but you know, blah blah blah. That's still wife. I'm going to go with it. Level of commitment. Thank you, Jabril, for adding. Can Robin get a hey? He just put some rabbit ears on my wife's thing.
We need an
I
audience
think
cam.
maybe he thinks about wife a little more strictly than I do. No, he's like, perfect. That was a wife. You lived with her for long enough. You suffered wife. Either way, I love it. It was great. Sorry. Thank you, Jabril. 100%. So, man, I got a tangent again. All right, good. I figured out where I was again. So, what I ignored or failed to mention was that during these extraordinarily drug-addled, you know, violent, somewhat disturbed years of my life, it wasn't though I lived in sort of like a male-only world. There were a lot of women involved in the life and times of 39 Drunken Disorderlies.
Yeah, it's true. We've heard about a lot of debauchery, a lot of like you interacting with cops, you fighting with drunk assholes, but like, you know.
And you would think to some extent that would sort of render your social life a little bit restricted.
Dissuade certain individuals.
Yeah. But that's entirely not true.
Almost the opposite, right?
Basically.
He's a lover, not a fighter.
But when he
Well, no,
fights,
he's
he
a
loves.
fighter, and he's a fighter, and he's a lover, and he's a lover who loves to fight, and
Yeah.
apparently that was fine.
And a fighter who girls love to love.
To love.
And
To
fight.
love, to love.
And they probably fight as well, don't they?
And a lot of them fight. In fact, I actually broke up with one ex because she wanted to box in a boxing ring. Because yeah, she said to me, "We can't have a continued relationship if I think that you think you need to defend me all the time.
Interesting.
So we need to sort this out. We're going to go to a boxing ring, and I'll show you." And I knew she could fight because I met her at an after hours, and I'm walking across the room, and I see these four guys coming in this girl. She's looking a little uncomfortable. And then she jumps up onto the pool table where she's standing and spin kicks this guy in the face and drops him. Jumps off the table and punches this next guy in the neck, drops him. I walk up. She's dealt with the problem. She whips around. She's about to hit me, and I'm like, you want a drink? Because I was like, that works for me. I'm like, I was going to come in here and save you. I'm like, and she's like, what? You think you need to save me? I'm like, no, not anymore. But I'm like,
Clearly not.
but I'll buy you a beverage. Like, you want a drink? Like, it works for me.
That was very Wayne's World. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
He lays down some ass, and then you're like, sure,
Yeah.
I need a drink.
Would you like a drink? Yeah, I was like, no. My manhood is not threatened here. Would you like a beverage? I'm like, that's brilliant. But it got to the point where she's like, she thought that I needed to protect her.
Right.
So this is actually funny because this is one of the women that 39 Disorderlies. She one time headbutted a guy off of his fake leg.
There's an image for everybody.
You will
We're
be
walking-
seeing that in an episode.
We're walking
very,
down the
very
street,
soon.
and me and my brother there, and he's 6'6", I'm 6'11", and she's like 5'5". She's walking ahead of us, and this dude, he leaps up in front of us, like, yo, give me a smoke right now. And I'm like, no, man, like, chill out, you're kind of crazy. And he goes to headbutt her, and she's a biker's daughter, she's tough, she knows her thing. She just goes, yeah, he's going to cocoa bunk me, I don't think so. So she leans in and goes, whoa, pow, and drives this guy, and he falls off of his fake leg.
And basically, she beat him to the punch.
So, yeah,
She
yeah.
out-headbutted him?
She out headbutted
Oh,
him.
you're going to headbutt me? I'm going to
I'm going to headbutt you.
Oh,
Anyway,
you're
yeah,
gonna
so
hit
we
me?
start
What?
teasing her because she
Why
knocked
not?
this guy off his fake leg. And the thing is, this guy was much bigger than her. It was like an accomplishment anyway, you think about it. But she was sad that she didn't know the guy had a fake leg.
Right.
Because she thought she just like headbutted
Right.
some cripple now, right? She's like, it was amazing. I was like, this guy came at you, he was all cracked out, you headbutted him off his fake leg, but then as soon as you saw your fake leg, she was mortified. She's like,
Yeah, but having a disability does not give you carte blanche to be an
No!
absolute douchebag.
No,
So,
but
like
the
you
point
have
is-
a fake
the point
leg
is-
and you're a dick.
the
then
point
you-
is she wanted this guy to be like a 6'4", like tough motherfucker, so
Right.
she could show me and him that she could headbutt this
Oh,
Right.
right.
guy. So she headbutts
But
him off his
instead,
fake leg,
Right.
and me and my brother James are like, oh look,
You can be
he's
a
only
cripple.
got one leg, right? And she's like, so
Great.
anyway, she
Great.
wanted to
She
box.
Can beat up a cripple.
So she, yeah, exactly. And so used to,
Right.
yeah, so
Right.
used to,
That's
we used
the
to,
joke.
yeah, we used to tease her like,
That's pretty
oh,
funny.
so you headbutted a cripple, huh?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing,
Anyone who
right?
showed up just then.
No, the guy was
"What'd
like a
you
violent
do?"
mugger. The guy was like a violent mugger. Like, if she had been alone and the cops had been there and seen her headbutt the guy, they'd been like, self-defense, it's all good. But because there's two nearly 7-foot guys and we're both like, so you headbutted a cripple, huh? You know what I mean? Like, oh. Yeah.
So wait, you said you're with your brother's tall too? You don't.
Oh, my buddy James.
Your buddy
James.
James. Your brother James.
My
But
brother
he-
James.
But he's 6'6".
Yeah.
Wow. You two rolling must be fucking deep.
Follow him at Trey the actor. This is Trevor Ketcheson, everybody.
Fucking deep.
No
Oh,
one
no,
else
it's
say?
pretty intense.
No one else.
No, we've told these
No, that's
we've
great.
told
I
these
love
fight
it.
stories
That's great.
before. I can be clear with you. Me and the boys on Friday night used to do the Friday night fight night, and that's not even a joke. We would get really liquored up. We would go out on Friday night and we'd look for groups of people who disagreed with our political or whatever social agendas. So, for example, the street Nazis, we used to fight pretty hard. The Polish Nazis, we used to just conquer. And like the weird Skid Row punks who thought it was okay to like mug and attack everybody, we fought them pretty good too. We also fought the hip hoppers. I mean, pretty much anybody who was. Pretty much anybody. I mean,
What was the difference between the street Nazis and the Polish Nazis?
well, the Polish Nazis had like an egotistical thing about them. Like they would tell you they were Polish Nazis,
Right.
Pierogies, mostly. That's
which
the
was
main
like really
difference.
hilarious. It's like, and we'd all laugh. Like, are you kidding? Like,
You just. You know,
you
Nazis.
just, like, have you ever read a book? You know what I mean? Like even one. You're a Polish Nazi. Okay, guys, I don't want to fight these dudes. And then one guy would punch my friend, and I'm like, yeah, no, I kind of want to fight them. And then we'd fight them. You know?
Just for the record, we started talking about love. And
But
women
Jimmy
on
got his
this
ear
podcast.
bitten
Now
off.
we're back to
But the
fighting
point is,
both
this story
sides.
doesn't end happily because Friday Night Fight Night ended with Jimmy getting his ear bitten off.
I can't get over Polish Nazis. That's the funniest thing ever. Because
What?
Poland
Classic
was like
foreign.
Yes.
they just steamrolled over
Yes.
them. So if
And they
anyone
treated
should
them
be
them the
Nazis,
worst.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's Polish people.
Well,
Oh,
again,
man.
It's almost like Finland, Stockholm syndrome in Poland.
it's no, but it can only happen in a country like
Help me out, Rich.
like Canada, where we are so safe and happy.
Well, if you can't be in a vagina,
Helsinki
right?
syndrome.
Well, no, so you can't recognize the historical significance of the ideology you think you're prescribing to. You're just too dumb. Again, you haven't read a single book. Like, you just do not know what's going on. You're like, oh, well, I have a classical connection to this ideological group that steamrolled me into the ground. It's the same thing we all encountered as kids on the fucking playground. The biggest dumbass, the guy that everybody knew was the biggest fool in the world, always had more friends than you could possibly imagine. You were always like, how did this guy exist? How did this happen? How did this guy get 5 of his friends to attack me?
A bully in his entourage.
Right? Anyway, though, we've talked about bullying before.
Right. Back to the women.
What I want to say is this.
Back to the women.
I think that's a segue, actually.
Keep getting off track. Women. We're talking about
This
women.
might be
Very
one of
bullying.
those tangential episodes where we just do this thing, okay? It might happen that way. That's okay.
We're a little loose. We're playing by our own rules tonight.
You know what? We should be. We do that anyway. That's what we do.
Yeah, but I feel extra.
But the only reason I wanted to talk about the women specifically today was because I was thinking about my girlfriend now and thinking about the history of women in my life leading back through all these stories that I tell. And what people have to recognize is that half the time, even the paramours in my life, the women I was with, really didn't have any idea how entirely mental the world that I lived in was when they weren't around. And it seemed mental enough to them in the spectrum that they were experiencing. But I guess that's also part of these stories too. You got to realize this is compartmentalization at its highest level. That's why I'm terrified of telling these stories to some extent.
Because there's so out of context.
Because there are some people that lived these stories but don't know that they lived these stories.
Or
Yeah,
that.
they don't know that half of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, they may know their portion of it. Like, I arrived at home and looked like this. Right? And the story I told when I arrived at home was whatever. But what occurred before I arrived at home is like episode 4. Right?
Oh,
So-
yeah.
You see, this is a confessional as well as a testimonial.
Well, that's why we're kind of select with, what we
Yeah.
disclose.
Yeah.
Some things are still kind of
I-
ongoing, kind of
well,
current.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I'm nervous about stuff, but I'll tell you guys, to tell you the truth, in the era we live in, I think the honesty of a human experience is worth more than my, personal privacy. Because frankly, a lot of these stories don't matter that much to me in that realm. They're embarrassing, but they're no more embarrassing than, for example, the political election we're engaged in right now.
Right.
Like, we live in times that are so stupid, generally,
Yeah,
left to right,
Very laughable, yeah.
that I can say whatever I want to and really just fall somewhere in the middle. Like, I'm just a guy that's lived there.
Watch it. The podcast police will get us.
Well, whatever. They can do that if they want. They have to.
I hope they do, because that means they're watching.
Yeah. Check us out on YouTube and all the podcast channels.
But yeah, when I was engaged in doing way too many drugs and partying all the time and playing punk rock music specifically and touring across the country and being very strange, meeting women and securing pleasurable contact with women was not difficult in any way, shape, or form.
Like that. I like that.
SPC. Securing pleasurable contacts. What did you do last night? A little SPC.
Did you
Secure some pleasurable contacts.
Did you secure?
Oh, I secured it. Handcuffs and all. It's great. You have a way with words and you know it.
And
The
women.
This is compelling non-fiction storytelling. Booty call. He got some ass, or securing. What was it? Securing.
Pleasurable
Pleasurable
contact.
contact. That's beautiful.
So you went across the
That's a
country.
t-shirt
You've been
right
in
there.
like some interesting places.
I've been to some interesting places.
Out Midwest, out west, north.
You know, we didn't. We tried to go across country and made it like
What, like Northern Ontario?
into the prairies,
Right.
and then kind of realized that sucked,
And it's so
and
far.
did like a hard loop, and
the
did
Ro-
some
the
more
Rockies
prairies,
the
and then
Rockies are
came
so
right
far
back.
away, yeah.
And we're like, well, if we have enough money to go to BC, we'll just go there, because punk rock in BC is very different than punk rock in Ontario. And
What's
the
it
East
like
Coast.
out there in BC? It must be like ska or something.
You know, it's just a lot of heroin, really.
Right.
I mean, like it's really darker.
That's Vancouver.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
most of British
that's
Columbia,
the
actually.
West
That's
Coast,
the whole
yeah.
thing.
Well, population-wise, yeah.
That's like
No, but I mean, that's the West Coast culture of punk rock and
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of that. And when I was growing up,
People are doing heroin out in the woods in their cabins.
Oh,
and
yeah.
shit.
I don't know, man.
Oh,
I
okay.
wasn't fucking there.
I'm pretty sure.
Were
Pretty
you?
sure it's that thing.
Let's not speculate, okay?
Right.
I'm speculating.
Canadians are a very diverse and respectful culture. And if you were sitting in your fucking log cabin, whacking the smack, that was entirely your business, not ours. Okay? Cool.
And
No
people
judgment here.
People don't get that. They throw Canadians all in one boat, and it's like, you know, I was in Europe, and they're like, you're all the same. And it's like, fuck, what they do fucking, 3 time zones and a 6-hour plane ride west of me is
Yeah.
nothing. And the East Coast and the fucking prairies, even
we
Toronto,
have
even
Quebec.
Toronto to fucking rural
We
Quebec.
have
it's
Quebec.
like, oh my god.
We have like another country inside Canada
yes,
that has been for like
150.
100 years being
Yeah.
like, no, we are very different from you. Except we're mostly the same, but we're different. And they keep doing it. Like, we want your money. We want to live the same way as you. But you have to remember, we're not like you. And it's like, yeah, but are you American? No. Are you French? No. Well, who are you?
Dicks.
We are Quebecois, right? Cool.
That's all God, they're dicks.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
And,
dick in French?
That was straight from Cifer Pics, right there at Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, the opinions expressed
Everyone in
by
Quebecois,
Karim
they're
are
just
not
dicks. Cifer Pics.
That's not.
All right,
I'm
so
sure that's not true. I'm sure there's plenty of Couche-Tardians that are lovely people.
I've experienced Montreal many times. Your strippers and blow are
Lovely.
amazing. It's great.
I had one of my drunken Disorderlies in Quebec. It was fine. It was great. I told you about this one, the belt fight on the street inside of the gas station. You guys are episode what, like 9 or something? It's in there. You
Yeah.
can
It's
find
in.
it. You can find it. So we're going back to the women of 39 drunken Disorderlies.
Episode 9.
Nine.
By the way,
That's
episode 4 was the bare knuckle boxer. Episode 9 was road tripping. Yeah, there it is.
That could have been it. Yeah, see?
I'll do those.
That's amazing that I even fucking guessed that because I thought it was about that one, yeah. So, look, here's the thing. When I got hit by the truck and had to call in my mom's death over the phone, that was a lot of fun, as I've told you before. I kind of like hit the wall, like had like an emotional, human, physiological, emotional, psychological crisis, right? And I was physically crippled, so I mean, I could go places, like walk on my cane and like pretend like I was okay, but the rest of me just wasn't working. And I thought that maybe I could find sort of the human completion, that pain and frustration, in pleasurable physical contact. PSC. So we're going to talk about that. And the reason I keep being very specific on this is I refuse in today's day and age to be caught in any kind of, socially constructed sexual debauchery that wasn't of my own design. Because frankly, I'm a huge follower of the Marquis de Sade. I enjoy a lot of pleasure in a lot of ways. But I have never been, never will be, and never have had any truck with kind of Me Too garbage political bullshit that hurts people and ruins their lives because they have a little bit of sexuality and they're not afraid to show it. So anyway, that's been said. Now that's out there. trick is, in that period of time between the age of like 19 and 28, I had over 100 lovers. I can't tell you how many. It was insane. I didn't care. I was living to die, partying to survive, and enjoying every fucking second of it, because I thought that it would be the last. I thought it'd be over soon. It wouldn't really matter all that much, you know. When you're young, you have these nihilistic philanthropic ideologies where you believe that you somehow know how the rest of the world's going to work out, the rest of the future is going to be, the rest of the universe is going to sort of happen for you, right? So being a nihilist and being into drugs and being into drinking and being like me, I guess, I just went all out. I mean, not my proudest moment, but I had a jar of quarters and a bowl of oranges on my dresser, and that was breakfast and bus fare. And that wasn't like a joke. It was one of those things like wake up in the morning, I'd like reach over and grab the 60-pounder of whiskey from next to my bed, take a hit out of it, roll over and see someone laying in bed next to me and be like, who are you? What is this? Like, oh, you know what? Doesn't matter. That's breakfast and bus fare. Get the fuck out of here. Because it wasn't about finding emotional connections.
Yeah, connection.
It was about trying to find emotions again. Because I didn't have any. You know? Broken down. Like, beaten to the point of suicide, but not capable of that because it's not me. You know? It's just not me. So instead, you just live to die. You party hard enough to kill yourself. And if it doesn't happen, then, hey, well, it didn't happen. You know? Then you gotta tell stories about it.
It's funny because partying is like so enraptured with like good times, feeling good, like up vibes, happy songs, but like to use that as a device for self-destruction is very, you know.
But it's easy to do.
Yeah, that's kind of what it always kind of bubbles up to.
It's easy to do.
Party too much.
And the reason for it is that what you want is you want the pleasures till you die. Right? And that's why we talked about overdoses. We've talked about the pain and suffering, the mental illness. Well, there's also the sex and relationship issue, which is that for a very long time, there was a lot of sexual partners in my life, but actually no love. Like no emotional connection to anything. It was all that stuff. It was just partying. It was like, yeah, we're just doing it, man. Yeah, okay, cool. I mean, like, bless the bloody stars, I dodged the, sexually transmitted disease fucking bullet. No, I'm not even, that's not a joke. Like, I'm straight up saying, like, people, ladies and gentlemen, young people, be real here.
And that's another way to self-sabotage as well.
I didn't care. Nobody cared. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the whole thing. You just wasted all the time. You're partying like crazy. The girl you pick up.
Your ethics and morals are just...
Dude, I saw the girl, my buddies told me, she's like, she's got the world, she's got the herb, things are bad, like blah, blah, blah. One part out, I don't care. Don't care. But, unprotected, horrible night, crazy sex, whole thing, 100%. Got tested later, I was fine. 10 years later, still fine. 20 years later, still fine. Missed, dodged the bullet like you wouldn't believe. You know?
Even like the curable ones, like do you think, the old pills.
I never once had to go and do gonorrhea, let's pop the pills, and never one time. For nothing.
You got like X-Men STD immunity.
No, and I don't believe that, and that's the thing. I don't believe that at all. I just know it's a mathematical fucking miracle, and it just goes to show when you're nihilistic enough not to care, the stupid things you will do to yourself without even a bat of an eyelash. This is like in the middle of one of the worst blossoms of HIV and such in the city we were dealing with at the time.
Cocaine.
Right.
This was in the 90s, the 90s, the 2000s, right? This was in the early thousands.
Oh.
I would,
like speed and shit.
we were dealing with a large wave of uneducated youth having unprotected sex, and I was one of them.
Sounds like a lot of generations. after
You're
the
right.
60s,
And
yeah.
drugs and
Oh, yeah.
sketchy scenarios.
No, and you're right. And I was
that
also in the
increase the
demographic
risk.
of people who are most highly at risk.
Right.
Absolutely. And so, I guess when I'm talking about the women of third and drug disorders, I'm talking about women in general, and men and women, and how we relate to each other. You know, in our weakest moments, we find our strengths, and those strengths can sometimes be that weakness. The fact that you seem like you're about to fall apart, and you are, can be so attractive that it's almost narcotic. Right? When you are suicidal, like, you know, we're talking James Dean, like Rebel Without a Clue kind of bullshit here, you know? You're ready to go. You know, you're close to fucking death because you just can't accept your life. And that somehow makes you so much more vital, so much more human, so much more attractive. That becomes part of who it is. And that can contribute to these rock star personas where people think, oh, wow, of course the girls love this guy because he's a bad boy, he's a hardcore. No. I think it's because when you're almost not alive, like psychologically, you're as alive as you're ever going to be. You're living as hard as you're ever going to live. And the rest of it is just the joke we tell ourselves to feel better. We'll wake up and say, oh yeah, you know, I remember being in high school and that was pretty cool. Yeah, well, I don't really remember being in high school. But I remember, you know, doing 76 hits of acid, walking to Ajax in one shoe. I remember that. Does that make me like a person, or does that just make me a phenotype, like a joke, like a living stereotype, right? And it's like, oh, wait a minute, but I also played rock in 3 successful bands, and I've worked since I was 15 to earn my own keep, and I've had more than 100 lovers. I'm looking right into the camera for this one because
Head nod, like, fuck yeah.
I don't know how else to define that one. You want to add some success to people's personal relationship building skills. Let me tell you, if you can pull as many people to bed as me, male or female, then you know you're Lenny from fucking Motorhead.
That's
Like,
it.
apparently you gotta tread the edge pretty fucking close.
That's the name of your R&B album. Over 100 lovers. Oh yeah.
SCP.
Over 100 lovers.
Over 100 lovers.
SBC.
What's it stand for again?
Secured physical contact.
Secured physical contact.
No, pleasurable.
Pleasurable. Secured
Wait.
pleasurable contact.
No, it's all wrong. It was
That was it.
It was pleasurable physical contact.
SPC.
Mm-mm.
No, it was
You
secure.
secured it.
Yeah,
It's
SBC.
secure
Secured.
physical contact with women.
All right, so we're gonna go back to the beginning of this episode, and I'm gonna prove to all these people just listen to me and think I'm weird because they don't know what the hell I was talking about. And that's okay.
That's okay.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Another great episode.
We're wrapping it up?
Yeah. What the hell do I want to tell you about now?
Over
I think-
100 lovers.
What
I
did
think you tell the stories. We wrap it up.
Yeah.
No, I
You're
wrap
on
it up.
work
I
here.
wrap it up when the stories are done.
You're
you want
on
to work
the
here?
clock,
We haven't
All
had
right,
any-
all right.
We
go.
got beers flowing.
We haven't
I
had
bought
any.
the beers.
I got beers for
We've
you.
had no
Fine.
audience questions. Rich is asleep.
Not asleep.
Let the dog attack Rich.
How are we
okay,
doing
please?
here? We gotta dip into the audience. Any
Done.
audience stories?
Just for the record, that took a
Don,
lot
this
out
is
of
the women of Third and Drunken Stories. Ask a question.
I don't even know. I don't even know what to
You
say.
won't hear it, but it's
I
on.
don't even know what to say.
That's
Why?
Put it to
That's
Luna.
it. That's
You
it.
just blow my mind, Bob.
What do you mean, how?
I don't even know what to say.
Over
Put it to Luna.
100 lovers.
Men.
Your guitar's right there.
Ask
Rich,
Luna. Ask Luna what she wants. Luna.
Luna. Is she one of the women?
Yes.
100%.
Luna, come here. Luna made her first, oh, maybe not her first.
Not her
Might
first.
have been episode
She
one
was
or
in
two.
episode 1.
Hey, Rich, what's up?
Man,
I'm casting the male privilege card and not asking.
What?
That's
Can
good.
you just
That's
veto
good.
your audience question? Jabril the Thrill, anything you want to add? Say?
No.
Scrutinize?
Jabril.
Scrutinize. No.
So when you are forced to marry,
When
what
I'm forced to marry.
yes, what do you expect your wife to say to this episode?
I will not show her.
No,
Please.
but
Ever.
we will.
So
Challenge
Once-
accepted.
In the event that someone shows her this episode, what will you say?
Jabril is a really common name.
Jabril's...
Yeah, but how many Jabril the Thrills are there?
You know how many times he's been on camera? He's got it right on this one, actually.
Jabril is a really common name.
There you go. There you go.
So he keeps saying it. He's got the Brett Kavanaugh down. Like
Jabril
he
is
just
a
keeps
Is
very
he
saying
going to
it.
be the third 9 D&D lawyer? Are you going to like negotiate all of our...
Jabril's drunk. We gave him half a shot of bourbon an hour and a half ago, and he is off his rocker.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I
he's
did.
making
I
it
did
work.
pull a bottle of wines out of the back pocket like
Oh,
halfway
shit.
through the episode. I do. You know, if that offends any of you, then you know what? Fuck you and drink more.
He's open in the deep end.
I just want to say something. For somebody that has been with like 100 women, you have very bad wingman game.
I know.
Remember when we were at that party
Wait.
with
Like what?
the TIFF party?
What does
You
him
expect-
being with women have to do with wingman game?
He doesn't need... He's just a
No, but
solo wrecking
that's
ball.
the opposite.
He's not a wingman.
Yeah, but he
He's a
should be
one-man
able to
operation.
get other people.
No.
with
In
women.
order
No.
to get laid,
No.
you power through
Oh.
other people.
Yes. You know what? You know what? No.
I know what he's
honestly,
talking
honestly.
about. Yeah.
No, honestly,
You
man.
don't get goals by giving up assists.
That's not what he's talking about.
No,
I think Bob...
you're absolutely right. There is absolutely no reason why I should have been as successful as I am.
He could.
Which means that when it comes to helping other people, my advice is the worst. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I got laid with this line as my opener. I'm looking deep into the camera. Harper, right into your eyes, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go.
With tits like them, you must bang like a shithouse door. Swear to God,
I'll do it.
was banging boots less than an hour later than that. So, my point is,
She's a lady.
she's a lady. My point is this.
Whoa.
She's a lady.
My point is this. It's a numbers game, and you can win the numbers game.
Oh, I know.
So,
Word.
my skill has nothing to do with this. I am not skillful. Look, my girlfriend,
You're a tourist
my
attraction.
current
That's what you
You're
girlfriend,
a freak!
who is a very lovable small person. And
How
I'll tell
tall
you,
is she?
she's 4'9".
She's
How
4'9",
tall-
and
how
you
tall-
are
6'11".
6'11". The differential 2 foot 2 inches for those counting at home.
Thank you very much.
This, something like that.
Thank you very
I
much.
think it's more than
This.
She sent me this meme,
that. Must have been this big.
which I'm not even going to show you, but I'm going to read to you because it sounds better in my voice than it actually does as the meme.
Down the barrel.
And she sent it to me because I'll tell you the truth. Stop touch.
Hey,
Fucking
production
motherfucker
value.
yourself.
Production value.
All right.
That's a lot of action for
So-
this podcast. That's a lot of action. Getting all this? You getting all this? Craziness.
So much banter.
You want to fuck? Do you have to say it like that? It's supposed to be a magical moment. Abracadabra, you want to fuck? Boom. That meme is so great because it does define exactly how romantic I am not, and yet how plausible that has been for my sexual history.
Isn't that a song? Abra, abra, cadabra.
Doesn't it
So,
really
wanna
fuck?
fuck?
Do you
Yeah.
wanna fuck?
To your point then as well.
You're right.
Sorry, what?
No, you're right.
It actually
He's an
is
intelligent-
up on
The
the
reason I'm a
research.
terrible wingman
He's
is because I can't explain why I've gotten laid. So how the fuck can I help you?
You know what it's
To
like?
your point,
Yeah.
he's an intelligent man. He knows how things psychologically work. He could, in fact, help people get laid, but he
He should be.
chooses not to.
Here's what it's like. It's sort of like the situation where sometimes pro athletes who are prolific and star level don't make good coaches because they were prolific and star level because they just had some special.
You know what I think? I think these guys are trying to assert. No, I think what's happening here is these guys are trying to assert that I'm just trying to hold the market for myself.
No,
That's not true.
No, what I'm saying is
no.
You can't teach something that no one else has. I think that's
Yeah,
why
right.
you. Whereas, like sometimes in baseball, for example, catchers who are just grinders and hustlers and kind of mid-range guys, they make the best coaches because they had to work for every inch of everything they had to ever accomplish.
Honestly, Karim, you're right. I'm a terrible wingman. I'm the worst. Because
We've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the reason that I'm gonna call you out on this, the reason that this conversation is happening is because we recently went to a party and you said to Karim, you were like, "Now let's get you a girlfriend" or something like that. Like you were gonna help him do that, and then
No,
nothing
that's
happened.
not what happened.
Something like that.
What happened is we went to the party with a woman that we all know in here, and him.
And my girlfriend
And
said
his
that you guys should
girlfriend.
be married.
Oh,
And
right.
We're right.
And they
That's
said
the
that about half a
matchmaker.
dozen times during the party.
Right.
See, the only woman in here said, "Oh no."
Sorry, I don't
Right.
know.
It's just a killer.
It's
So,
a
yeah.
killer, but it could still happen.
Just for everyone at home, Cifer Pics has his hand in his head right now.
I have over 100 lovers. Just for the episode's sake in the future, give us some couple
By the way,
notable
that's the title.
scenarios,
That's
like
the title
places
of this episode.
over 100 lovers.
Normal. There's nothing wrong about it. I actually got in
No,
trouble
not
at
normal.
work.
Notable scenarios, like crazy places
Well-
you fucked.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
because we're 14. Let's do it.
Let's start this. How about
Fairness
notable?
wheels.
How about notable times when other people noticed that you had a bit of a problem? So, for example, my boss called me in for a meeting one evening, and
They're like, you like to fuck. Don't
no,
you?"
it was worse than that. But a bunch of guys sitting there, friends of his. Yeah, it was kind of like that. I was, you know, Trevor, you're closer than you think.
No,
I
I
got
mean,
it.
it's like you had a problem, right? Like in the office. All
And I
day.
wandered into the office, and he's like, "Okay, so, Bob, my buddy Shane wants to talk to you." I'm like, "Well, Shane, what the fuck's up?" He's like, "Bob, you fucked too many people's wives."
Oh.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Girlfriends, wives, whatever. You got a problem. You gotta chill." And I'm like, "What are you talking about, man? Like, get out of your mind." He's like, "Really?" They had a fucking video montage of security footage. Because here's the way it works. I work at this club. End of the night, I'm sitting there, having a beer, and I see this girl, she looks sad. And, like, I see some lame dude, like, wandering around. I think it's just some, weirdo trying to pick her up, whatever. And so the game's on. Who wins? I walk up, I'm like, "I'll buy you a beer. You want to come to my place?" Girl's like, "Yeah, sure." I'm here. All right, let's go. The guy's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Shut up. I win. Shit's over. Let's go." We leave. A couple blocks away, take a cab. Cheap. Efficient. Everything's awesome. Next day, breakfast, bus fare. Time. Right? No big deal. No big deal. Go back to work. Well, the video montage was it was enlightening. I'll give you that. I was a little surprised. I'm like,
Didn't know your own track record. Yeah.
although it's the high, it's a 3/4 height above view.
It's very like
It's a film
third,
thing.
Third
Like,
eye.
yeah, it
1980
changes the perspective of how it's going.
1984. Right.
Also, there's time stamps here.
Mm.
Like 30 minutes before I'm taking her home, her and her husband are fighting at the bar, and she's going, "I'm staying and having a drink. You can just do whatever."
I'm sorry, but who the fuck gathered all that footage?
My boss.
How does he have access to all
bar,
that
no,
footage?
the bar manager.
It's security
yeah,
footage. It's
Yeah.
the security cameras for the bar.
Speaking of this
They
footage,
took 3 tapes.
Kareem,
Yeah.
roll the footage. We got the footage. You're about to see it. Kareem, roll it. Stick around. You are about to see.
Wasn't that much? It was
Big
it was
Bob's
it was
fuck
3 or 4
montage of
scenes
all
they
his
had cherry picked
coworkers' wives.
and just put on a VCR. I think this VCR was like record, and just here you go 3 or 4 minutes. And I'm like, that happens a lot. who's that sad-looking guy over there? Is that a husband? And I'm like, and I'm like, okay, so like, what am I supposed to do about this? Like, am I fired? And he's like, no, you're like a really good bouncer here. It's good, but could you like not do that? And I was like, and he's like, I don't know if I can make you promise not to do that, but would you try? And I'm like, I will try.
What does that mean?
He said, I can't promise to try, but I promise to
Try.
In the words of Bart Simpson? Is it Bart Simpson?
Yeah.
I can't
So wait, these
But
were
no, Karim, don't worry. It wasn't like your video montages, which are excellent. This was like VCR back in the day, 3 clips of me telling some guy, take off. I'm talking to the girl now. And I can see it because there's no audio, right? But I can see me. I'm like, there's me. Yeah, there's that girl. Yeah, that's cool. And who's this dude? And I'm like, there's me going
fuck off.
like this, like, beat it, you.
Yeah.
And
shrimp.
she throws her arm around. Now, to be fair, in my defense, no one ever said to me, that's my husband you're fucking off.
And
I would rather come home with you and philander on him. So,
Are
let's
these
be
like,
fair.
is this industry husband? Like they're not actually married, but they're with him.
No, like, literally, it was with boyfriends, husbands.
But like they had rings, or
I don't know. It got to the issue.
I'm just
like I said,
wondering.
my boss was
I've
asking
never,
questions.
I've never laid a married woman. Like I don't know. Like, do you look?
How,
Do you care? Like,
How would you know?
Because they have a ring.
There's lots of people wear rings. People have nose rings.
And people probably don't
Vagina
wear rings, even
rings.
though they're married.
Lots of rings.
But like I look
I
at.
don't count people's jewelry. Liberace had lots of rings. Was he married?
Okay, but in this culture, it's like an indicator of like how open people can be.
In what culture?
In this Western culture we live
In the
in.
I'm extraordinarily drunk and having sex with everybody culture?
Right.
No.
Who cares?
Blur your eyes, just really blur your eyes.
You don't
right
have
now.
to tell me,
You're not seeing a
Lars.
ring right now. You're
No, I'm just
seeing,
saying, like, okay,
I'm just
to all
wondering.
the husbands out there whose lives I ruined, fuck you, you should have been better in bed.
Isn't that a Willie Nelson song? To
Pretty
all
much.
the husbands,
Give me the
wives,
guitar.
fuck
Fuck.
before.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
You should have been.
Look, I don't know. Look,
I want to say it's actually very respectful that you told the guy to fuck off and you didn't force him to stay in the room and watch you fuck his wife. So
yeah,
you
but
could've
now
done
it,
Because
but
that's
now
called a cuckold.
You could
yeah,
have
but
done
nowadays that's all the rage.
You
Apparently
had
that's how you get
you had
social
the-
credits. Like, I'm respectful enough to let you watch me fuck your wife.
If anyone
You're
had
into
the
it,
power
aren't
to
you?
do that, it was you, and you just told him to go home like a good husband. But he fucked his wife. Wow. Over 100 lovers. Are we gonna wrap it up? All right, episode
Wow,
21.
pleasurable contact. SCP, remember.
I think it's appropriate that this podcast turns the American drinking age legal here in the Laughing Viking studio, where we do it dirty, our own rules, our own way, our own style.
Share this out. Share it to at least 3 friends who have had over 100 lovers. And
Good luck.
follow us at 39DD Show. Hit us up at Laughing Vikings as well, and maybe you can come to one of these studio tapings.
Yeah, and if you work at one of the venereal disease clinics here in Toronto, do me a favor. Just don't tell me. I know. I'm not helping you, okay?
And if you work for the Center for Disease Control, you might want to test his blood because apparently he has immunity to everything. So he's got the antibodies to everything. This is your, what do they call it? Patient X or something like that?
Zero.
Patient 0. Yeah. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
All right,
that was
thank
great.
you.
That was amazing. We
Good
did
work,
it.
everybody.
We did it. To talented people.